G'day all, welcome back to Dad vs Son, and we're going to start a little bit of a playthrough of GMT's MBT and a partridge in a pear tree. Now, I know quite a few people have actually done playthroughs of this game. There's not too many playthroughs of the advanced rules, but I'm not quite there yet for that. I've had a couple of little plays with this, with the basic rules, and that's what I'm going to use for Scenario 1, which is called First Clash, Part 1, Czech Western Border, 27th September 1987. And this utilizes 3 maps 4, 2, and 7. Like this, 4, 2, and 7. So it's relatively large. Let's just go through the basics to start with. So it's normal visibility. There's no adverse terrain or anything silly like that. I did the D10 roll to see who had to set up first, and the Americans had to set up first. Americans, Nato, whatever you want to call them. And then the Soviets, which I'll probably call Russian by mistake every so often as well, set up second. I've put the NATO forces to my left, your left, which is the western side, and the Soviet forces to the right, which is the eastern side, which I just take as a normal because, you know, the Soviets are going to come from the east towards the west, unless they've gotten in behind our lines, in which case we'd be in trouble. But seeing as this is just the start, we'll do it like this. Victory conditions wise, so it's a 15-turn scenario, and we have 4 victory hexes. The top one you can see there is a ford, a bridge, and another bridge, and they're all the victory hexes. There is another ford here, but it's not a victory hex, and the stream that you can see up the center that we just followed is non-passable other than at bridges or fords. So the main area, we have 4 crossing points, and this tributary here, we have the 1 crossing point. So they're worth anywhere from 200 to 300 victory points each, and we get unit VPs for any knocked out or brewed up enemy vehicle, and it's a 255 victory points required for the victory margin. Special conditions, we're not using force grade modifiers or anything else. I've told you about the stream being impassable. If special ammo types are available, we utilize ammo limits. So if we have a look on these little tankies here, the Americans have got the M60A3 TTS, and the Russians have got the T72AVs. So if we look at the Americans over here, where it says A for ammunition, you can see it's got H5S3D5. So H5 means it has 5 heat rounds. S3 means it has 3 smoke rounds, and D5 means that we have to roll a 5 or less if we're using the optional rule for smoke dispensers. For the Ruskies, again, heat rounds, they've got 4, and they also have smoke dispensers. for a D5 as well. The T72 is, because we're using basic rules, if you look at the bottom left there, armour is 85 for the front and sides and 26 for the rear. Whereas the poor old T60 is 52 for the front and sides and 16 for the rear. So yeah, it's a bit of a pain. So that makes it a bit difficult. So the T60 and the T72 both have, as you can see with the ammo type, they have armor-piercing, fin-stabilized, discarding sabot rounds, so sabot rounds, and they both have heat rounds. The Russians have a 125mm cannon, whereas the poor old Americans have the old 105. So range-wise, they're very much the same. They both have a 6 for. It's a bit hard to get it all in. Let's go like that. So they both have 6 for a point-blank range. They both have 12 for short range. The Americans have 22 for medium, whereas the Soviets have 20. The Americans have 31 for long range, the Soviets have 28, and the Americans have 37 for extreme, whereas the Russians have 33. So from that point of view, it's at the longer ranges, the Yanks have an advantage. However, if you look over to the AP damage side, if we were doing that sort of thing with the advanced sort of one, then it's easier for the Russians to cause a little bit more bad damage than it is for the Americans. But we're not too worried about that at this time. Also, the Americans' tank is at a size +1, so they're a bit easier to hit, whereas the Russians are a size 0. Okay? So that's the main thing that we have there. So I'll have to try and keep, if we use heat rounds from anybody, as you can see with the, say the Russians here, the Soviets, their heat rounds go out to 110 for penetration the whole way across, because that's what they're doing. Whereas their sabot rounds start at 108 and drop down to 60. Righto. So, but you can see the range is a lot different for heat against sabot. Heat only goes out to range 20, whereas the American heat goes out to range 29, even though it's only an 86. So, yeah, we'll see how that goes. So that's our two protagonists. Okay, so we have the US forces, and they're set up, ta-da, over there. Trying to get them both in for you. Oh, just. Okay, so the Yanks have 2 command tanks, and then they have 4 platoons, effectively, at 3 of 3 tanks and 1 of 4 tanks. And having 2 command tanks makes life a lot easier for them, because it means that they can really split up and go off and play. And you can see the little green marker here, and up the top, that's my command tanks. So what I've done with the Americans is I've basically split them in 2. This is effectively going to be my anvil, these little buggers down here. And my intent with them is for them to move down this road into this wooded area here, and set up as a blocking force. So they can look after these 2 victory hexes here. Let's be honest, it's the Soviets that are attacking, so I'm going to have the Soviets attacking, and I want the Americans to basically defend. The second American force, which is the slightly smaller, will move down through the village there and take up, again, blocking positions down towards this area and try and take these two victory hexes when they can. Like I said, the Americans set up first, so the Soviets saw that, and they've set up down here. Now, the Soviets only have the one command tank, so it makes it a bit more difficult for them. And then they have 3 platoons of 4 T-72s each. So what they looked at is they want to try and knock out the Southern American force first and then take out the Northern. So they want to defeat the Americans in detail. Take the 2 bottom victory hexes and then take out the Northern Americans. So the idea is that this platoon here shall move up onto here into a overwatch position, and the others will move diddly-bopping up the road and take up some sort of position here ready to attack forward. So that way, hopefully, the Soviets can enfilade the Americans, get them in a little bit of a pincer, pinch them off, and then do them in detail. So that's the plan. That means that their Soviet right flank is going to be open, so they're going to have to keep an eye on that, but I think they should do fairly well. So the optional rules that we're using for this, since we're using the basic rule set, is we're going to use command span. So basically we work out how many commands each side gets, and then it all depends on the command radius. And both sides for this first scenario have a command span of 10 hexes. So that means that this bloke, if he has everybody in his command radius, gets his full bout of commands and can do whatever he likes. If not, then he starts to lose the ability to give move or short halt commands. So that's basically what it comes down to. So that's why I said with the Americans, with having 2 commanders gives them greater flexibility. We're also going to be using the bogging down rule. So that means if you try entering a hex where you can get bogged, doesn't matter. It's trying to leave. So things like gullies and woods and stuff like that, fords, getting into them is fine. Trying to get out of them, we have to do a bog check, and that's all covered on the terrain chart. So, for example, so if we end up down here and we're trying to get out of this ford, then a ford has a bog check of 1 to 15. So we'd roll our percentile dice, and if we got anywhere between 1 and 15, we would bog, and then we'd have to simply stay there until the next turn. So that's what we're doing there. Since both sides have smoke discharges on their tanks, we're using that optional rule. So if they want to pop smoke, they can try to. We're also going to use the optional turrets rule. So, for example, we have a Soviet turret here. So if my tank is facing this way, in the normal basic rules, we basically shoot 360, okay, because it's a turreted vehicle. So what I'm going to be doing is, if the turret is in line with the direction of travel, I'm not going to put a turret on it. So that means it will fire out its normal arc. But when we do a move or anything else, or at the end of it, what we can do is we can move our turret. So it just means that if somebody is not in our turreted field of view, then it makes it a lot harder to try and hit anybody. So it's I'm just playing around with that to see how it goes. Now that will affect Overwatch and stuff like that as well. What else are we doing? Nato target acquisition, and this is one of the mistakes I've noticed that some people have done. On the hit modifier chart here, down the bottom, it says NATO target acquisition bonus +1. And what some people have been doing is they're simply looking at this and going, beautiful, +1. So every time a NATO vehicle fires, they're giving it a +1 on its hit modifier. And that's not right. To get the actual bonus, what you have to do is you have to be under a fire command. Not an Overwatch or a short halt or anything else. It must be a fire command. So you're under a fire command and you fire at a Rusky tank. Okay? So the next turn, you stay under a fire order and you target the same vehicle again. That's when you get the +1. And to identify that that's what you're doing, what you do is you have these little markers here. Oh, where'd it go? Of course, the only one I can't find is the one we want. There we go. Okay. Sorry about that. Okay, so if I have an American tank firing, and he's going to be going for the bonus, he's had a fire order, he's fired at that tank, so we have those markers on there. So I know if this guy has another fire order and fires at this tank, then he'll get the +1 bonus. Okay, so we have these green and red markers, which go from 1 to 10, I believe. So the chances of using all of them is fairly finite. So that's that whole idea of that NATO target acquisition bonus. It's not automatic. You have to meet the conditions for it. And the last thing we're using is morale. So this is where vehicles can end up with either hesitation or they can end up with braking, which will have effects on how they move, how they shoot, and all that sort of stuff. Rightio? So that's it. So that's probably a good half or so of the optional rules, and we'll see how it goes. And if it turns to poo, then that's fine. We will get there. So basically, what it comes down to is it's the morale side of things is not going to really affect us until we meet the cohesion levels for these sides. And if we have a look up here, let's just have a look at these two. It's a bit hard for you to see, I understand that, but let's have a look. So these are the forces that we've got. So as I said, we've got 2 commands, a 4, 3, 3, and 3 tank platoons. And this tank company is seasoned, that they have excellent morale, and their cohesion point is 9. So effectively, once they lose 9 vehicles, then they have to start taking morale checks for certain things. If they lose a command vehicle, then they have to start taking morale checks. Whereas the Russians, because they've got their 4, 4, 4, and 1, their level is 8. So once they lose 8 vehicles for whatever reason, then again, that's when we go into it. So that is it. I don't think there's much else to tell you. So let's get into it. I'll give you, if I can, the great overview. As you can see, yeah, it's a fair footprint. So we'll just try and zoom in on where we're going and everything else. So looking at the sequence of play, the first thing is the spotting phase. But in all honesty, nobody can spot anybody because, you know, we've got all these trees and hills and everything else blocking everybody. So nobody is spotted. So we go into the command phase and we don't have disrupted communications. So we go straight to determine available commands. So let's have a look down here. Now we've got the chart here. Sorry about the light. So what we have with the Russians is they have 13 units. So they're seasoned. So we come across to the 10 column and we see they've got 6. And they've got another 3 units is 2. So they're going to get 6 plus 2 is 8 commands with a 1 hex command radius. And the Americans, who have 15, will get again a season. So they'll get 6 plus 3 is 9 commands maximum. And that's all it is. Nice and easy. Okay. So we've determined the commands. We'll place the commands. I'm not going to waste your time. Everybody's going to get a move command. That's it. Everybody is moving this time. So I'm going to pause it, put the move commands out, and then we'll come back and go on with the next step. Righto. So just to make it easy this time, all I've done is I've put the move command here for him, and the move command is for each of these stacks has their own move command. And that's what I will do in future when I go through and do that. But this is first turn, it's not going to really matter too much. Okay. So that means that we've utilized 1, 2, 3, 4 commands out of the 8 for the Soviets. And again, we've got 3 move commands up there and 3 move commands there. So we've utilized 6 of the 9 for the Americans. So the next thing is initiative. And this is simply a percentage die roll. So we'll do the Americans first. We have the Americans with the green and the white die. The coloured die, green, is the 10s, and the Soviets will have the red and white die with, again, the coloured die, the red, being the 10s. So we have a whole 16 for the Americans. 10 plus 6. Pretty crappy. And for the Soviets, they get 32. So the Soviets get to decide who is the first and who is the second player. The first player gets to shoot first, move second. Second player gets to shoot second, move first. So the Russians would like to actually move first so they can position themselves where they want, and then make the Americans react to them. So they are going to play second player because, second player. So the next thing we do is the first air phase. There's no air in this, so forget about it. We have the combat phase. We have no indirect fire. We have no direct fire, so that's done. We go into the movement. There's no close assault hand-to-hand or anything else. So we have movement and overrun combat. Second player first, and that is going to be the Ruskies. So let's have a look here. So movement-wise, for the T-72, we have 7 tracked movement points, 9 if we're on paths effectively, if we stay on paths predominantly, and 14 if we stay on roads. But we're off-road, so we're just going to go simply 1, 2, 3, because we've come up a slope, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now we can do a turn if we want, but there's we may as well because everything's still in our front. And I'm not going to put a turret on these because they have a good, they're actually fine for where they are. And then all we do is we put their move spot marker on them and they are done. Then we look at the other Ruskies. The first platoon here is going to go 1, 2, turn 3, 4, 5, turn 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. And that's the end of their move. And again, they're happy with that facing. So the only way they could face now is this way, because that's why they were travelling, or they can face that way at the end of their move, because then they're following the road. But that's going to give anybody coming this way a side shot at them, so we don't really want to do that. Doesn't matter too much in the basic game, but in the advanced game, it would make a hell of a lot of difference. And you didn't see anything that I did then because I was an idiot. So again, we finish our move on the road. We have to be pointing in the direction of the road, so we can only turn that way or stay facing this way. If we were here, we'd have to stay facing in that direction. We could move our turret, but we don't want to at the moment. So that's that one done. Next one, they're going to go 1, 2, 3, they turn 4, 5, 6, they turn 7, they turn, they want to turn again. So they go 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. They get a free turn. 13, 14, because they've gone uphill. Now, again, they have to stay facing in that direction. But what I could do now is I could put a turret on them. If I wanted to, say, give them an overwatch for next turn or something like that. And on the card here, you see it's got TT for turret turn. So basically 2 hex sides is a freebie that I can do. So we're facing this way. We could do 1 turret turn to face here, 2 turret turns to face this way, and we'd be firing out that way if we wanted to. Okay, but I'm just going to put it like that. So we've got our turret on there, and again, you didn't see anything that I did. This is the way we're facing. We have a turret turn of 2, so we can go 1, 2, or we could go 1, 2. So all I'm going to do is put a turret on it, facing up towards the northwest, like that. Okay. And the last thing we have to move is our little commander here. And he's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 8, 9. And that's it. He's going to stop there. And the whole idea of that is to basically get him within the 10 range of all of these. So all of the Ruskies, all there together, happy as Larry. Now the game rules say that these spot move things should go so that, we know it's move to the front of the vehicle and stuff like that. But just to ease, I'm saying that I'm putting them in a north-south orientation, and whatever is on top is what it is, so a move or a fire or whatever the case may be. Okay, so that's just me. Okay, so next thing we do then is we do the American moves. So this first one here, we have 11 movement for them. It's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Turn 10 into there, like that. Next fella's going to come down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 to there. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 to there. And they've all moved. They all get there. I've been a good person and I've moved markers for spotting purposes. And then we go up to the last of the Americans. And they're coming down the road here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Like that. And just for the fun of it, we go, oh, look, we can see little Ruskies up there. So we've got a turret turn of 2 for them as well. So we're going to do a turret turn of 1 and bring them into line like that. So they're facing at the little Ruskies. Next one goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And he's going to stop there on the road. And the reason for that is I want to bring him down to this victory point area. He can't go off the road now because he only's got 5 tracked movement. So he has moved as well. And then our command tank, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. To there. And he has moved. Now, stacking limits in this game is you can stack up to 5 units in 1 hex. But if you've got 6 or more, then you take... You're overstacked when it comes to... taking fire and stuff like that. So, yeah, it makes it easy to hit you. Excuse me. Righto, so that's our movement phase. We go to the second air phase, which we don't have. And then we have the adjustment phase. So pivot step, but we don't have any infantry or towed vehicles that need to pivot. So we forget that. Adjust turrets. So this is where, again, we can adjust turrets if we wish. So, excuse me, these Americans don't need to adjust their turrets or anything else at the moment. The Ruskies here are happy with their turret adjustment at the moment, and so are the Americans over the other side. So that's done. Adjust full cover step. Again, that's for infantry. Forget about that. Remove suppression. That's advanced rules. Forget about it. Adjust remove morale counters. We don't have any morale counters out there at the moment. Remove counter steps. So this is where we would remove any other counters like smoke, movement or anything else, but I'm removing the move or fire counters or overwatch counters as we use them. So that's that, and that's the end of turn. So we have finished, and overall we have this sort of thing happening. So yeah, stuff spread out everywhere. Righto, so that is turn 1, not much happening at all. Turn 2 is when we'll start to get some fire and movement happening as well. And hopefully we can start to see something happening. So nobody's had to use any optional rules at the moment other than what we've done with turrets. So I hope I haven't screwed up too badly. If I have, I'm sure you'll let me know. So take care. Be good, and I will see you next time for turn 2. Bye for now.